Hi guys, Haze here. I'm an artist and speed painter from Malaysia, and this is my tutorial for this week. So last week I actually did a tutorial, but the voice and the audio was so bad I had to cut it off and make it into a time lapse. And I'm not sure that today I'll be able to actually finish anything for this week because I actually just got out of the hospital. I have my implant removed from my leg. I used to have a fracture, and then there was a metal implant, so I'm in a lot of pain right now, but I need to finish my work, so I need to get this sketch done. So anyway, before we get started, I just want to talk about a few things. So the first thing is I'm gonna start from scratch and be very clear about my instruction with every tutorial, even though all the instructions are repeating itself. So it's just to help people who just got to my channel better. And the second thing is, I know everyone has been asking about all my brushes here, and like, where's the saturation brush, where's the smudge brush, what brush should I use for this and that. And I've been meaning to upload like every single one of them to my Dropbox so that you guys can download, but I will have to make a separate tutorial for that purpose because I am just not in a position right now to do that because I need to rest a bit more and I need to do that on my computer. So anyway, I'm gonna do a separate tutorial for the brushes and to demonstrate what each brushes do. So with that being said, this is the tutorial for this week. So if you have watched my previous time lapse, you actually would know that I am actually doing these two portraits for a client of mine who I customized my helmet for, and this helmet is gonna be Malaysian style on one side and Taiwanese style on the other side, and this is the Malaysian side. So this is just the face that I'm gonna do for this side. So as usual, I start with a sketch with the sketching brush. Just be patient guys, I will get the brushes on as soon as I can, probably, hopefully next week. Okay, so because this is for a helmet, I cannot be too detailed or go too crazy with the effects, because if I go too crazy with the effects, I would not be able to paint them traditionally using acrylics on the helmet. Which is why the previous time lapse has a lot less effects on it. There's less glitter and it's a lot less crazy. So same with this one. Okay, I'm gonna give her a bigger, thicker eyebrows. Oh my god, I obviously drew the eye too big. So when I'm sketching, I try to have line guides to guide me. So I'm trying to get the end of this nose, this line here. So how do I get that line is I compare it with other features that I already have. So if I see from the photo, I can see it somewhere here. So this way I will know that everything's proportionate because I'm using these kind of guides to guide me. And how do I estimate the distance between here and here? I usually use tones for me to differentiate. I can tell this is the eye bag and this is the nose. So this triangle is roughly the same size in the photo. So this triangle here, so I use this kind of visual cues to help me determine the distance. But because I do it so often already, I don't sketch them down. But sometimes I get them wrong and I have to correct them. So sometimes I like to draw the tones down, like what I'm doing now. I'm drawing like the shape of the shadow to help me guide where is the next line gonna be. So I'm just trying to find where to place my eyebrow. And then now I'm trying to determine the size of this shadow here. So again, I'm looking for cues to see the size. So these are the cues that I see, and hopefully they're correct. And also, if the face is like going this way, everything has to match the same angle. So if it doesn't match, like for example now this this matches here like that, and then this one matches here like this, so it's not really the same angle. So I know that either this has to go up a little bit and this eye has to completely go down in order to be in the correct position. So it's basically using all the anatomy knowledge that you learn from books and tutorials and applying all of them when you sketch in your head. You apply that in your head and then you just check visually if they are all correct. So this one has to be straighter and lower. So this would be roughly correct. So I'm trying to get the final shape of the nose. I think it's here. Let's see. It's actually here. So as we sketch further and further into the portrait, we have more and more information to continue, and it gets more and more accurate. Okay, the lips is the same. I need to get the line. It would be this fine. I think a good way for you to learn portrait if you're new to it and you feel that your drawing is always wrong is to just print photos of portrait and start tracing them. After like you trace 50 of them, you would actually be able to sketch a portrait better because you know the spacing between elements well. Okay, I'm gonna put more information of the tones into the sketch. And when I put more information, I realize some of the sketch is wrong, and then I can start to correct them. So now I'm trying to get where the ear is. It's gonna be somewhere here. So somewhere here. I want to make her face rounder so that she look more youthful. And the ear is roughly here. So I'm just gonna check the other reference because I'm actually going to change her hair. If I'm not mistaken, it's gonna be like this. Okay, so that means I need to paint more of her forehead, but not so much of her neck. Okay, so once we are done, we are ready to move on to the grayscale blocking stage. So if you're new to this, here's what you can do. You can save the picture, edit it, and if you edit it, you can use black and white to turn it into black and white, but I don't use black and white because it changes the tones. This filter changes the tones. We just want to desaturate it with the exact same tones. So I go into color and saturation and remove all the colors, and this is the tone that you want to retain. So I'm guessing the mid tone would be this one. Okay, so I'm just gonna go into my regular brush. You have this brush by default, and I'm just gonna block in the color. Sorry, the tone. Then I'm gonna cleanly erase. This is the same brush, only eraser mode. Only it's on eraser mode. Cleanly erase the edge. There's no reason why you should cleanly erase the edge. I'm just doing it because I'm anal. You can do it anytime. Okay, after this, you can hold the screen and hit alpha lock. And then now I can change my brush to a soft brush like this, or you can also use airbrush like a soft brush. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing, and we will just drop in the shading as quickly as we can with as big as the brush size that we can to avoid smudges. So example, if I use this size brush, like this size, to, let's say I'm going to do the chin, so I have to do this, and it ends up a little bit splotchy with marks everywhere. But if I use a big brush, it's softer and more uniform. Use the biggest brush possible for every task. If you're new here, I always encourage to use one tone below the next. So I have my grayscale tones here already, and I never jump tones, so I only go from 3 to 2 or 3 to 4, never 3 to 5 or 3 to 6. I know that starting with a grayscale is a little bit boring, but grayscale is the core structure of every painting, and if we can't master grayscale, we won't be a good artist. So I suggest that we learn and do these steps first before we attempt to do some straight to color kind of progression in our workflow. Okay, I'm gonna erase some of the tone lines so that I can see better. Okay, let's proceed again to continue modeling the face. This is not an easy face to model because there's 2 lighting sources. So after I do every tone, I'm just going to go back with the tone before to clean up the tones. Okay, I've got enough information to move to the next stage, but I need to do some smudging first. I'm not sure if I got everything correct, but we'll see. Okay, we are 1 tone lighter. your tones as simple as possible so that the painting is a lot more simplified. There's two schools of thoughts for painting. One is simplification and the other one is complication. So I'm of the simplification kind, so obviously I think there's too much cheat. Yeah, so much better. I'm trying to keep my tonal shapes as simple as possible. So each time you put down the tone, let's say I put it here, right? And I need to know like which part of the shape it belongs to. So right now this is one shape. So if I put something here, I know that I'm blending downwards and not upwards into like nowhere or randomly. So that is clearly visible, like this is this tone. So for portraits like these where the tonal values are like clashing into each other, so you have the light here, and then here there's a shadow, it's gonna be tough, but as long as we keep the shapes as simple as we can, we should be fine. It's not every day that we see such defined lighting for the female face, so it's definitely a challenge. Because we have a lot of decisions to make, like do we keep this shape or not. So by starting in the grayscale mode, you can get to decide all these things, because if we immediately do this using color, it will be difficult to decide all these things and change them if we want to change them after that. I'm going to switch back to the sketch brush to redefine the hard edges of the portrait. And then I'm gonna soften them up. There's a lot of things to soften up for this portrait. We need to soften everything up that we want to soften before we go into hard edges, or else everything will just be a mess. So I'm really trying to join shapes together and decide which shape goes where. Okay, I think I just want to stop there and start defining the shape. So the actual nose shape that has a shadow here, we are gonna ignore that. If there's imperfections in the photo that you are trying to paint, you always have a choice to ignore or to faithfully follow it, but you are the artist. There is always a choice if you want to omit it out. Otherwise you're just a photostat machine, photocopy machine. this shadow is still fine, I think. And then now we can go into one shade darker. Is this one shade darker? Nope, this is the exact shade. Should be this one. Yep. So one shade darker to finish this up. I stopped using the soft brush and I switched back to the sketch brush is because there are hard edges I want to retain, and for those. So what I'm doing now, I'm just trying to put the dark tones in and see if I want them at all. So these kind of shadows are called cast shadows. It means it's casted by the nose. And they usually have a hard edge compared to the object shadow. Okay, I'm just gonna zoom out and see if I want to keep this shadow. I'm not gonna have this shadow. No. So I'm gonna remove part of the shadow. Okay. There, like it never happened. This is a little bit different from the other tutorials because the other tutorials I was mainly just like, you know, following most of the anatomy. But this time I'm making a lot of decisions because I need to simplify them. And I will also go a little bit into color theory today. In case there's nothing for me to do anymore on this layer, so we're gonna switch back to the top layer and clean up some things, most of the lines. Okay, that's good. And I'm gonna turn on alpha lock and change the color of the eyebrow. Then I'm gonna use the eraser tool with the sketch brush to clean out the eyebrows a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna turn it back on again. Put a chocolate tone in the center just to track this correct. Pretty much. Okay, I'm gonna go and clean up line by line right now. Is this still on? Yep. So I'm just changing the colors of the line and changing the line art to tones instead of lines. It's funny mixed emotions in our heads, bring us to our knees. So come away, go, just let it be. So I'm just switching back and forth alpha and mode and not. So if you do not know what alpha lock is, it basically so now this layer it has lines only, right? So if I lock it, I can only paint within the lines. That means within everything that you've already painted in the layer, and it won't mess up anything else. So this is why people have their things in layer. The shading a little bit higher. Let's move to the other eye. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the portrait because there's a lot of customizing work to do for this kind of look. So actually I'll be sharing my entire process for customizing the helmet on YouTube, so you get to watch all of them. I don't use the airbrush anymore actually. I used to use them, but not anymore. So you get to see how I actually hand paint the helmet instead of spray painting it with the airbrush. Because usually all those customizing work that you see is always just airbrushing, right? Yeah. So but what I'll do is to paint them with acrylic and also to finish it as well, and I'll share with you how I do that on a helmet which is made of plastic. So it also, so the technique that I show you would also be applicable to anything that's plastic as well. Okay, remember that the eyes are not complete white. You'd be actually very scary if the eyes complete white. Okay, turning on to alpha lock. The good thing about the alpha lock for Procreate compared to Photoshop is that in Procreate you can still erase your alpha when you're in the alpha lock mode, which is very handy because I don't have to keep switching out the mode. But of course, if you want to add new details, then you have to get out of the mode. I'm gonna fix the shape of the eye so that it point towards the other eye a little bit more, and then we're gonna give a nice hard edge, yeah, for this part here. And also be very careful because what is highlight here is actually a shadow on the other side, because tones are all relevant. Sorry, tones are only relevant to the tones around them, and it's all about a relationship. So if you ask me, is tone 5 correct for the face? It can be if the surrounding tones are the right tones. Turn the alpha mode on. Okay, let's move on to the nose. Since the eye is done. I have to do the ears. I hate ears. Touch. The highlight is where it should be, but we have to modify the tones underlying it. So this is a torch tool, a general tool to lighten up tones. Who do you think you are? Okay, clean up this design here. Because I want it to be harsh and certain. Yep, I'm gonna make it like this. This is how I want it to be. Where it's clear that the nose is dead. Now we can continue erasing the line, which I think is. I don't think that's a line. But anyway, alpha lock turn on. Okay, I turned it off already. And I use that for this line. Okay. Now I'm gonna continue erasing. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Okay, we need to work on the design of the nose. So I'm turning off the alpha lock for the nose, and I'm gonna use highlights to define the shape of the nose a little bit. It's a bit too bright, so I'm gonna redo it. Okay, I'm gonna design it this way. Okay, but now this shape has got to change. Okay, it looks okay to me. It's hard to continue fixing unless I merge the layers. Okay, to the lips. Okay, I'm gonna clean up the lines around the opening of the mouth before I proceed. Okay, looks about right. Just the teeth. Just the teeth, and then now I'm gonna turn on. Oh no, get rid of this. Okay, now I'm gonna get rid of all the lines and find a tone for them. Looks pretty correct to me. Okay, looks good. And okay, let's turn it off and put in all the information that we need. Oh my god, my screen is so sweaty, I can't even zoom out. Okay, I'm not looking for accuracy here, I'm looking to make her look prettier than she is. According to my standards, because it's my painting, yo. I realize I have a mistake now, so I have to change it. I think I adjusted the lip already. Hopefully it's correct. I need to check it, but I need to zoom out. But my screen is so sweaty right now. Yep. So the mistake I made was that the left side was a bit longer. So, and how did I realize that? So actually, let me just draw this line first and I'll explain. And everything makes sense now. Okay, so just now I was doing this part, right? And then I realized that this cleft here, wait, what's happening? This cleft here, where am I? Oh, sorry. This cleft here actually reaches the teeth here, but just now the teeth was right here. So I knew that this side was a bit to the left, so now I'm shrinking it back here. So sometimes when you have more information, then you get to refine your image a little bit more and kind of find out like where you went wrong in the drawing, especially. And when you see the mistake, you have to change it and not ignore it, because some people, maybe some artists who are better than you, will look at your painting and they will know exactly what is wrong, like your lips is too big to the right, for example. But for the layman, like example for your clients that do not know or wasn't educated in art, they would see that there is something wrong with the painting, but they can't tell what is wrong, so they would give you feedback in very odd terms, like your painting does not pop, she does not look traditional enough, but in fact it was just like the proportion and the drawing was off. So you need to like kind of know when you make a mistake and you have to change it, or else people will still know, whether they know how to explain it or not. They can see it, they can sense it. See, now she looks a lot more reasonable. Just now she looks like, I don't know, just weird. Okay, I'm just gonna pull some shadows up. So when I pull the line creases up, I do it like from the bottom up. I can't do a zigzag motion. If I do a zigzag motion, I'll get something like this. So I have to do like bottom up and then top down, then it will look reasonable. So and now just to fine tune. Okay, so now we got the face, the neck's too big, so I'm going to erase a lot of the neck. Okay, it looks about right, I think. Okay, that was correct, but it should be like this. Okay, now for the last part, which is the ear. I'm gonna erase all the other lines because I'm gonna merge the layers soon. Am I merging the layers? Maybe I'm not merging the layers. Okay, the last part. Oops, that's my manager. I have a performance tomorrow and I think something went wrong. Okay, let's merge the layers. Now I can smudge properly. This is why you should never like sketch and then smudge. You always end up like a mess like this. So I'm just going to refine some of the details a little bit before we get to coloring. Am I on the correct layer? Yes, I am. Okay, since this is going to be for the helmet, I need a border. So I'm going to add more lines to stylize the painting a little bit. I'm cleaning up shapes that I'm not happy with, so that they are the shapes that I want. Okay, so let's bring back the Pinterest back into view. We are ready to go into the color page. Okay, I'm gonna try to get the red color right off the bat. I'm getting this color and I'm going to go with the saturation soft brush. Turn on the alpha. Make sure it's huge. Didn't I just turn on alpha? Or did I turn on? For the details, I am switching to a small brush. Usually, I start with the mid-tone that is orangey in color, like this. And then I move on to a red tone. But for this portrait, I am going to do the same. Let's get a red tone, maybe like this. No, it's a bit too pink. I need something warmer, so maybe, oh god. Okay, like this. Temporarily. So the reason why the second color is red is we want to introduce the blood flow after we have decided on the skin color. So this is like the blood. We're trying to tell people like, yes, this is the skin, it has blood running underneath. Okay, then when we move to the highlight, it has to be yellow base. I think it's too yellow. I need to go a bit orange. Let's see. It's too gray. Yep, much better. Yep, yellow. So the Asian skin has a lot more yellow tones, which is this highlight yellow. Instead of being blue, the highlight is yellow. Okay, I'm gonna just dump this onto the neck with a bigger brush so that there's no streaks of brush strokes. The ear is always a little bit red because it's very thin and it has a lot of blood vessels in it. Okay, stronger. This is a tan skin. And we need it to be stronger than other portraits that has less color. It needs to be really warm. Shadow. And brown. And shadow. Just want to get ahead and make the eyes gray first. And sort out the color of the eyebrows. Okay, she's starting to look a lot more Asian now. The yellow undertones is really bothering me. Okay, this is a lot more natural. I'm just gonna swap both color, making it real. Yeah, a lot more natural. Okay, looks good. Nothing we can't fix. I'm gonna use the same brush, the same color maybe, and darken the lip a little bit, darken the nose. And the cheek here. God, what do I keep saying to this? Gonna have a warm brown now. To give some Asian color undertones. Okay, that's good. What is it that I want to do next? I can't remember. I'm drawing some details into the highlight to make it look a lot more natural. But when there's a shadow like that, there needs to be a highlight. Okay, I'm gonna do the details right now. Which I'm gonna start with the eyebrow. Just putting in the hair. So as usual, when you're doing the eyebrow, make sure you're following the right direction and draw each hair individually. Start with the lightest and then go to the darker slightly. And then if you need to give erase, you can always just pick the colors of the skin and erase like this for a sharper look. Then if you want to add highlights, remember to do it on top of the strand that you've already drawn on. Follow your own lines. It looks okay, but before this project, I want it to be stylized and simple. Law of the jungle is to follow directions. Observe your own brow and see the directions of each hair. And go from light to dark. So now we're going to do the eyes. So for the eyes, I always like to start with the iris. So the iris has to be circle like this, with a circle around it as well, and then a slight gradient from top to bottom. So the iris has to be dead center in the eye. And when you draw the iris, you can always cross-check with your the photo. If it looks like odd, that means you have positioned your eyes wrongly, and probably it's also too big or too small. So I like to give a gradient for the top down, dark to light. So once I have the gradient like this, I like to put in the highlights. You can randomly draw shapes like what I'm doing. But basically this is the most basic highlight. So you can blend some of it out, keeping a few of them with hard edges, and erase some mistakes as we go. Then we can shift to another highlight, and this time all the highlights is gonna be hard edge. Once we have the basic highlights like this, we can then proceed to a sharp highlight in the center of just the highlight before, so it will look a lot more reasonable from far. And then this same color can go right outside onto the sclera of the eye for a mirror-like finish. And then finally we can give some reflection, no reflectivity to the eye, the entire eye. Okay, once that's done, then we're gonna detail the eyes a little bit before we proceed. I'm just setting up the eye bag for now. Okay. After that, we can put in the lashes, which will be quite simple, really. So to do the lashes, think of it as one in the center and then one to the right, one to the left, so that it crosses like some sort of a triangle. So that's the basic setup, but then of course you can randomize them to be some long, some short, some lighter, and some darker. So same goes for the bottom. In clumps of 3 would be the most natural, and also mind the directions of the lashes. So when it's from far, what you get is something like this. So okay, now we can do the same for the other side. Don't forget the sound and come curved up like that. That was exaggerated to show you. As usual, mind your direction. And for the lower lashes, remember that they are very, very light because they're much thinner. You don't want to have them all the same thickness and darkness. Change it to blue. That's too blue. Okay, that's good. Give it an irregular shape so that this highlight really pops from far. Okay, that looks good. And I can use this same blue for the highlights, right? Is for the areas that you really want it pop. So you get to decide where that is. Since this is stylized, I get stylized of this a little more. We can do the lips. The color is already all here, so all we just need to do is to detail it. I'm just drawing this one straight line here, and from this straight line I can pull lines out with the smudge tool and also bring it back down a little bit depending on what I want to do with it. So I think this is like more organic and looks more natural than just drawing the line. If you can control it. So I'm finding that this highlight is too much. Okay, the base for the whatchamacallit, the lips is done. I'm doing the highlight. I think the challenge for lips is like, where do you place the highlight? So I always refer back to like a collection of lips that I've done before, so I know how to do the highlights, and I just look for the ones that I think is suitable for my current lip. I observe it, and then I head back to replicate the same thing. And then once I have a base highlight on, I zoom out and see if it's like natural before I continue. Okay, I think I got it. That did not turn out well. I think I'm using the wrong brush. Okay, let's try that. Is this pure white? Why the fuck are you pure? Oh my god, I'm cursing. Okay, so because I accidentally used pure white, I'm just going to what should I do? I should dodge around it. Some saturated pastel orange. Okay. No, I can't just dodge around it like that. Wrong color. I'm just trying to saturate around the line a little bit to show that why did I do this one? But no matter, you can always try and edit the highlight. Once you go white on highlight, there's no going back. It's hard to do anything with it because, well, white is the ultimatum. Okay, I think it's better like this. Yep. No more white. My god, please. I was just like testing the basic color. It can't be white, it's too much. So okay, now we can finish up the face. We have to find the perfect color for the highlight so that it looks like someone's hands is blowing. But it's not easy to identify the color for this kind of effect. It's only fun until we get the result we want. I'm gonna give a little bit of freckles to her. Okay, we are done. So now I'm going to create another layer and get into my sketching mode again. sketching mode, and we're gonna give this hair. So this is like a typical vintage Chinese look that I want to add to this portrait, because she's a very typical Malaysian kind of look face. So now I'm going to somehow draw the hair. Okay, so it's just got to be something like this, because it's side loop. Oh god, this is going to be easy. I think I'll just change to this hairstyle. So it should be like the side. Oh my god, it's gonna look so funny. Look at this, it's like vampire. The Chinese vampire. Looks so concerning. Yeah, so fair. Look like gold. Why is every single girl looking to the right? Okay, there we go. Okay. Ding. One bun, two bun, three bun, four. Oh my god. Three bun, four bun. Erase bun. Five bun, six bun. This is a weird bun. Okay, this needs to be like that to look natural, so I'm gonna redo this part to touch the guideline. One bun, two bun, three bun. Still looks terrible. This hairstyle just looks terrible. Okay. Okay, think I got it. Not too bad, I think. I'm just gonna warp this a little bit to make it rounder. Okay, and I'm gonna swap the inside lines color to gray so that I can see them once I paint them on. Okay, that's it. And let's do the heifer, shall we? Give myself a peace of mind. Okay, and push this down, clean up the edges. Add another layer. Paste this. There we go. Okay, style I want. Exactly. And now. I use the lines. So using the lines, you why is there only one line? Oh, this one. See, there's multiple lines, so I can quickly like mock up all the hair really quickly. Just gonna use this to do the fringes of the hair. That means the borders of each shade to give it a loose and wispy edge. Okay, and then also some of the sideburns. Okay, so now we can work on the highlights. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this highlight. Okay, there we go. Erase the parts that we don't want. Gonna match this layer down, and why am I not looking at this one? Damn, what was I thinking? Okay. Make sure it looks semi-natural before we proceed in the shape that we want. And now I'm going to be really picky about the color of the next highlight. Should be reddish. I think it's this color, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's not. Yeah, it's this color. So I'm developing the cream hairstyles highlight further. Some of it is a little bit green, which I'm leaving the previous highlights for. Some of it is a bit red, and that's why I'm adding this red now. Okay, with every step of the way, we have to blend them out. So there's no need to be so clean with this one because it's just a reference for the helmet painting. So I just want to sort out all the colors and details. Okay, now we're ready to put in the highlights. I'm really careful about how light the highlight is supposed to be, and I am really mindful about the direction of my highlight right now. It needs to flow with the rest of the hair. So I need to follow the directions that I set earlier on. It cannot be any different. Okay, I'm gonna move to the next highlight. Again, I'm like super mindful about the positioning and the directions of all my brush strokes. It has to follow the flow of the hairstyle. And we don't want to shock the whole thing by going too bright, so it really needs to be one step at a time. Okay, so to finish this, I'm going to use black and put in all the details that we did not have before. Like in between here, we'll have some black to show the flow of the hair, I think. Okay, and then we're gonna finish all this off with the blender. Let's see if I can get the blender to work with the lines brush. does not work at all. Oh, wrong layer. Haha. Maybe it will work. I'm smudging everything out, making sure all the lines are flowing into each other, even more so this time. Okay, now we're ready to add individual lines. So now I'll just turn up the previous portrait in the other layer, and I just want to match the size of the head so that I have the same amount of detail and sizing for both heads. Okay, so this is gonna be my size for this side, and now I'm gonna roughly draw in the clothes. Before that, I'm just going to find back the original reference so that, okay, it was this one. I just want to see the color and how it should be drawn. I'm just going to quickly lay in the body. Just want to get the anatomy correct before I move on to the clothes. Okay, this is about it. Now we can start to put clothes on. We'll start by drawing the once we have this color, we can roughly gauge the tall of my drawing color. And then this is the center. So this would be the center of the collar. I think I'm just going to make this stiffer because right now it is at this profile, this is at a different angle compared to this line. So I'm just going to make it stiffer so that it's more appealing, as if it's starched. I think it's better now. I'm going to switch back to black. Yeah, but the back needs to be thinner, not as exaggerated. Okay, that looks okay now. And then, oh, it has a really nice sleeve, this design. That would be the hand. Let's see. I think I'm gonna move it slightly left. And for this side, something like that. it's over, it's no longer straight from the side. It's a bit of a curve. Using this as a reference, I'm going to draw the neck just like that, and then the collarbone goes like this, and then the shoulder goes like this. Okay, here I have a rough sketch of what I want to do, and I'm just going to clean this up a bit with another color. The color is quite tricky to get right, but we have to try. Better than my first attempt, I think. Okay. Let's undo this reveal with another layer. Okay, it's good. And just a rough sketch of the element. I think I'm just gonna do that freehand, so no need. Okay, let's just block this in. So we are just gonna paint straight with the color, and I'm just gonna dump in the mid-tone. So because we have the skin color already, so there's no second guessing like what color it should be and it should be not, all those things. We have those colors already, and we just need to pick the correct values. But we do have to bear in mind the light is coming in from this direction. So because of that, our highlights will now be on this side instead. And this one will be here. So if you just blend that out, we will have a rough skin for our hands. And now just gonna put in a gray for the shirt. Let's start with a neutral gray. Neutral gray it is. It looks a little bit purplish against all the other colors, but it's fine. I intended it to be purplish in any way. And we can get the hair back. And we're just gonna quickly block in the shading and everything. So first things first, I'm gonna go for the shadow, which needs to follow the same light source of the original. Just cleaning up the lines there, and I'm just gonna change the silhouette a little bit. Now I think I want to rotate the head a little bit. It's looking quite unnatural right now. I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. Looks much better now. Back to the highlighting business. Okay, what I'm going to do now is change the color of the highlights a little bit, because I remember I said that I like it when the shadows are a bit purple, but now it's not purple anymore with the highlights being the same tone and color. So the only way to make it purple is to apply a little bit of a color theory in this sense. So as we know, we have a color wheel here. So right now our colors is we are using pure gray, right? But to our eyes, before we put in the highlights, our shadows actually look purple. Our shadows actually look purple, which is around here. So to make the shadows look purple, all we need to do is either make the shadows a purple color like this, or to drop the opposite color onto the highlight, and that will make our shadows pure purple. So the opposite of purple was around about this color. Okay, let me just undo that, what I just did, and make sure that my shadow has a tint first in purple. Okay, okay, I'm happy with this color now. Let's smudge this. Okay, for the highlights, I don't think I'm going to use the green because it's very unnatural. I'm going to go a bit more warm and see what happens here. Yeah, it looks a lot more natural this way. So it's still grey but slightly tinted. Okay, and now we're just gonna freehand the flowers on another layer. But before that, we have to clean up the lines a little bit. The lines is a bit too thick. At the end of the day, I don't really care if my lines are thick or not, for the sake of this tutorial, because this illustration here will be painted traditionally on my helmet. But what's important to me is, I think, the color of the line here. So to do that, I'm going to turn on alpha on and give it a different color so that it has less contrast. Okay, that seems good. Okay, just gonna do that. Okay, let's start with a smaller spot. I'm just controlling my brush using the brushes. That's how far I can press my pen. Now for the second layer. Okay, and yellow. Okay, fine. Now another layer. Where was my orange? Alright, orange here. So make sure it's below the layer. This is tips that the way I'm doing this flowers using brush strokes is probably the best thing that you can give yourself as an artist, is to master brush strokes to form anything that you want. So now that we have the petals available, we're gonna erase around the petals below it, above it, the ones that we did earlier. And again, we turn on the alpha lock, pick our red and shade it in. So this way is actually faster than, you know, sketching and painting each leaf one by one. It also makes the flower look a lot more spontaneous because you did it using brush strokes. Sometimes the more strokes that you give a painting or a drawing, the stiffer the artwork looks. So by minimizing the amount of brush strokes, you can give spontaneity to your drawing. Okay, so now I can merge the layers and add a new one. Same technique. Draw the flowers, erase around the previous petals, and I'm going to drop in a dark black for some of the tips. Okay, add another one. Same thing, just the same thing. Border leaves. Okay, below the layer, erase around the previous petals. Smudge down, give everything a good smudge. Now we can do our next flowers, which will be in blue, and then we can of course drop in our shadows, give it a blend. And now put it below the other layer, erase around the petals, and I'm just gonna do another layer. Let's start with the reds. The reds. A bit more grey than this, I think. Yeah, this would be the color. Okay, let's do it. Just checking if I'm on the correct layer. Okay, I'm going to redo this leaf. To achieve spontaneity in your drawings, it's good to practice the strokes to be as little strokes as possible. If you can achieve it in one stroke, then do it. So which is why I am increasing the size of my brush, so that it looks a lot more spontaneous than what it is now. It's much better. I'm going to switch color. Okay, now I'm going to use red. Where is that red? Okay, the red's here. So I'm going to alpha lock this and give both of this a little bit of color. Bring this below the blue layer and erase around the petals. Both leaves. These are good brush marks that you can practice, because it really can give your art a different kind of look, and it really saves time too. instead of drawing every single leaf one by one. You can now do them in a matter of minutes. By the way, these are all speed painting tricks that I'm sharing right now. So for my speed painting performances, what I do is instead of like painting faster, because it's a speed painting, so what I actually do is I minimize the amount of strokes, and that actually helps me cut time when I paint, perform, and that way I'm able to drastically reduce the amount of time when I perform. Okay, that's great. And because this is such an easy way to paint, you can always go in to refine details if you ever need to. Okay, so quickly we have quite a number of petals already. And before I continue, I just want to clean up the tips. It's just a simple matter of erasing, sharpening the tips. So you can see how easy it is to clean up and to detail this kind of artwork if you ever need to, or just keep it loose, because from afar you already have like the motif going on. So right now I'm gonna make a new layer, and what I'm gonna do now is do some lines. Okay, now that I have my lines, I'm gonna turn on my alpha mode on, and I'm going to paint the tips a slight yellow color. And for this side, I might even change it to green. Okay, so now we have the lines already, and we can just erase around the petals again to clean it up. Okay. Next thing we can do is to drop in the petals. So, and that's what we're gonna do using the orange. So it's just a simple teardrop shape, very simple teardrop shape. It might even look like a heart shape. I'm just drawing two lines, guys. Just two lines, very simple, two lines. Gosh, I sound like Bob Ross. I'm quickly drawing the petals. Okay, there we go. And we can just lock this. I'm just gonna change brush so that it's quicker, so that I don't have to keep blending. Yeah, so this is a soft brush, so that I don't have to keep blending. It saves a lot of time. Switch back to my sketch brush. Oh my god! Put in some detail. So cleaning up the edges again, and we're almost good to go. Almost, guys. Almost. There. And just gonna do the other side quickly. Is this in layer 1? So the difference between this and the sketching that we are used to do, like we sketch in and we color in instead. So the difference between that method and this is that instead of sketching with lines, we are sketching with shapes this time. And it's actually faster to sketch with shapes because you think in terms of shapes instead of thinking in terms of like lines. So when it comes to lines, you tend to look at the contours. So when it comes to the shape, sketching with shapes, like with brushes like this, we tend to look at shapes instead. Like this is a triangle, a teardrop shape, or a shape that I have seen before, and we tend to just work in the similar thought process. Okay, so this is done. I'm just gonna merge all the layers and give them a good erase. I'm not gonna warp this image to conform to the fabric this time. Actually, I think I am. Warp and then just, yeah, I just want this part to wrap around the shoulder a little bit more. Yeah, like this, and this part as well. Yeah, I think that's good, and maybe compress this part a little bit. Yeah, that's great. Okay, now we can proceed to erasing. And also to clean up some of the edges that I was being an idiot of, thinking that I do not have to warp it. Okay. Then we can decide if we want to put this on a multiply layer, or I think color burn looks good. Color burn then. Alright, this looks good. I'm also gonna do duplicate this layer. Yeah. Okay, this looks okay. So put this back to normal. I think I want to add something. Okay, let's just add some lines. This is such a bad place to add. Okay. I drew directly onto the dress. Oh my god. Just experimenting because it seems a little bit blank here due to the composition, but I think that's okay because my helmet is gonna cut a lot of all these off, so I think that's fine. I think I'm just gonna leave this for now. Feels like it's lacking something. But what? It's the shirt. So I'm gonna mess around with the color of the shirt to find the color that matches the motif. This is good. This is very vintage. I think I like this. It really shows the mood that I'm going for. Yeah, this is okay. Just cleaning up the edges. So putting it on the that blending mode hue, yeah, we can experiment with different colors. So hue, color, sorry, the blending mode color. But unfortunately, we can no longer use this on multiply mode. Darken is okay. It doesn't remove the color properties. Yeah, I think this is okay. Okay, there we go. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you next time.